Before we get started, I want to give a quick disclaimer. Egyptology, or the study of ancient Egypt, is an incredible area of study. I am not an Egyptologist, so all of this is to the best of my understanding. So please don't use me as a source for some academic paper. This is just to kind of give you a bit of an overview. With that announcement out of the way, let's go ahead and get started. Today we're going to talk about some really interesting parts of ancient Egyptian beliefs and religion. This is the first of a 6-part series about ancient Egyptian beliefs on spirits and the soul and what that means and how they viewed all of those things. Ancient Egyptians were very worried about death and what happens to them after death. So a lot of this is going to bounce back and forth between culture and religion. If you are interested in learning more about the ancient Egyptians, hit the like button so that I know to add more content to the channel about ancient Egyptians. To help break down what they believed happened to a person after death, they broke themselves up into several different parts. They believed that each person was made up of 5 different parts or pieces. So the first one is going to be the effectiveness or goodness of a person. Then they're going to look at the personality as a second part. The life force is kind of the third part. The name of a person and their shadow. And of course, each of these had a very specific name and a very specific set of beliefs that go along with it. So let's break these down little by little. So first, the effectiveness or goodness measure was called the Akh, A-K-H, in English letters. So remember, the ancient Egyptians didn't use the letter system that we use now. They used hieroglyphics, but when we're trying to make those sounds into the letters that we use, it's AKH. So it isn't super well understood, and it seemed to take on a different meaning after death. And this is part of the challenge of being an Egyptologist. Because we haven't fully decoded the hieroglyphic system, it's very challenging for us to understand some of these ancient beliefs. But to the best of our understanding, the Akh is a measurement of how effective a person was. So from what I could understand, it's almost like a measurement of how much good karma a person has put out into the world. Your personality, the second one, is referred to as your Ba. So B-A. Think of this as what we consider today to be your soul. The third part was your Ka, or your life force. It's kind of like a spiritual body double. So this, along with your Ba, is what the Egyptians considered to be your soul. Fourth part is going to be the name. So tombs are often labeled with the name or the Ren of the person who has been laid to rest there. Ancient Egyptians believed that for them to be reborn in the afterlife, the Ba and Ka would have to come together and find each other. And we'll go into more detail about what that means in our videos about Ba and Ka. Egyptian religion said that your Ka hung out in your tomb with your body until your Ba had passed judgment. And we'll go into a lot more detail about what that means in our videos focusing on Ba and Ka. For this purpose, the idea is that your Ka stays with your physical body. And the ancient Egyptian belief was that if something happened to your body, your Ba and Ka would not be able to find each other. This is why they were so terrified of grave robbers. Because if grave robbers messed up your body, your spirit would not be able to make it to the afterlife. As a safeguard against this, what they did was they put their names on the tomb and their names on the coffin or the sarcophagus, so that on the off chance that something happens to the body, the Ba and Ka can still find each other. The last part of the spirit was the shadow. This one is not very well understood because a lot of the references contradict each other. Different historical documents say different things. But keep in mind that to the ancient Egyptians, the sun was very important. And so your shadow is what happens when the sun hits you. It's that absence of sunlight. And so that's going to really impact what the Egyptians believe about their shadow. And in our video about the shadow part of your spirit. We're going to go into a little bit more detail about what different people and different texts say about the ancient Egyptian beliefs, and you can kind of draw your own conclusions from there. Ancient Egyptians believed that all 5 of these parts work together to make up your spirit, that work together to make you as a person, that made you different from Stickman Bob down the street. And so we're going to go in the next several videos into each of these 5 parts in much more detail so that we can start to really understand what the ancient Egyptians believed about who they were as people. Throughout my channel, we have resources that go with a ton of different historical periods and different novels. So if you want to learn more, hit that subscribe button. And as always, be brilliant, and I'll talk to you soon.